All right, testing, 1, 2. All right, testing, 1, 2. I can't tell if hold on, is my game audio fine? Yeah, that's fine. I've just lowered the volume on KSP because god damn, this game is loud. Way louder than I remember it being. Why is my... Alright. Bear with me for a second while I set things up. Alright, everything's working just fine. Hello to those who may be watching. Now, after my last God of War Valhalla stream, when we finally came to the end of Kratos' beautiful acceptance of his actions and acceptance to becoming the God of War on the Peace Council, I said that I was going to, I don't know why I keep saying but I said that I was gonna play Assassin's Creed 2, but then I realized it's January 2nd already. It's 2024. It's next month is when Persona 3 Reload releases, and I literally have, what, 2, maybe 3 more stream sessions to go before I have to start Persona 3 Reload and play the crap out of that game. So I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to finish Assassin's Creed 2 in that many streams, to be honest, because I'm probably going to do like 2-hour sessions. Games from like the mid-2000s aren't that long, but some of them are surprisingly long. I don't doubt that Assassin's Creed 2 would probably be one of those series that are extremely long to stream. So, I'm here with some Kerbal Space Program. I used to play the crap out of this game around like 3-4 years ago. I think I played like 10 hours of just crashing and flying stuff in this game in the sandbox mode. In fact, I think I might still have the save. Yeah, Bork. Bork Brock? I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But yeah, I think this is this sandbox? I think this is sandbox. Yeah, I think they like upgrade your facilities for you in Sandbox and just let you build whatever the hell they want you to. Yeah, okay. I've never done science mode, so I don't know what that entails. Probably gathering science is what it actually entails. But I don't know how you upgrade your buildings. Like, is it through actual cash? I guess we'll find out. But for now, my goal for the end of the stream is going to be to get some kind of aircraft into orbit. But first, since I know jack shit about the flying instruments and stuff, I'm gonna do some training, and then I'm gonna start a science gathering save. Alright, getting started in basic construction. This tutorial, by famous rocket scientist Werner von Kerman himself, covers the basics of rocket construction in the vehicle assembly building. He's waiting for you down there and is always in high demand. Don't dally. Jesus Christ. Bro. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna do... So, learn the basics of flying a spacecraft in KSP in this tutorial. Flight Instruction Gene Kerman will take you through the essential flight controls and instruments required to launch simple hopper that you built in Construction Basics. Intermediate Construction. This tutorial, presented by famous rocket scientist Werner von Kerbal himself, covers how to design a craft that can escape Kerbin's atmosphere and return safely. Learn how to escape Kerbin's atmosphere and return safely. In this tutorial, flight instructor Gene Kerman will take you through the essential flight controls and instruments required to launch a simple rocket to an almost respectable altitude, and how to get back in one piece. This tutorial, presented by blah 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 blah, covers how to design a craft that can orbit. Okay. I'll do this through Gopher Orbit. Building off the prior flight tutorials, Gene Kerman teaches you how to achieve orbit with a vessel that you built in the advanced construction tutorial. It's a big step. Okay. I remember rocket construction being a point-and-click thing. I don't remember it being that bad. Alright, welcome to today's lecture on vessel construction. I am Werner von Kerbal. Whether you want to put a satellite into orbit, make a transcontinental flight, or step into the very surface of the moon, you're gonna need to build yourself a ship. It should be pretty easy, even if you're not a famous rocket scientist like myself. In this tutorial, I will first show you around the Kerbal Space Center, then take you to the vehicle assembly building, where you'll learn how to construct a simple ship. We'll cover adding and removing parts, what the parts do, how to change the performance setting of the parts which have that option, and how to control staging. What the hell is that? I have no idea what this shit is. At the end of the tutorial, you will have a craft fit for a quick hop from the launch pad. At each step, I will lock out all the controls other than the ones you need for the step. If you still manage to mess up, it took even me some time to become as skilled as I am now, you can press the back button to go back and fix things. It won't light up unless you do mess up. We are now at the Kerbal Space Center. I'll give you a quick rundown on how to get around. The KSC for short is home to the pinnacle of Kerbal Endeavor, an achievement for space exploration. Jesus Christ, long words for no reason. To manage using the facilities you can see here, you will be able to manage your space program, create rockets and planets, track your Kerbal explorers as they roam the solar system, find exciting new uses for explosive substances, and in case of emergency, hire more Kerbals. To find out about each facility, you can hover your mouse over them or the facility's buttons if they show up with the cursor outside the window. So, Jesus Christ, reading comprehension is at 20% today. I'm sorry. Hold on. If you need to repair a structure, we need to repair shit? Realism? What is this? Or upgrade them in the career. You can do this by right-clicking them. So like I did before. And I'm guessing this would be lit up or something if you wanted to upgrade. Take some time to hover the mouse over the buildings and see what they are. When you're ready, enter the vehicle assembly building, the VAB. Okay, tracking station. At the tracking station, all ongoing missions can be viewed and focused on. Landed crafts can be recovered from here as well. Research and development. At the R&D facility, our team of scientists works hard to crunch the data received from the mission experiments. Here, all research technologies can be viewed and new ones discovered. Astronaut Complex. The astronaut complex contains the living and recreation spaces for all of our crew members. New applicants also apply here to be recruited. You can... I wanted to... You can recruit people? Sandbox mode literally blocks out like half the game, doesn't it? Well, damn. I think I've missed out on a lot. Administration building. The administration building may not seem like a very exciting place at first, but here is where all your strategic decisions are made. What do they mean by strategic decisions? What does that mean? Me no comprendo. Spaceplane hangar. The spaceplane hangar allows the construction of spacecraft designed to be launched from the runway. Mission control. At the mission control facility, all available contracts can be managed. It also offers a very nice view of the launch sites for any who are brave enough to be so close to the launching craft. I don't think I was able to do like full-fledged missions in sandbox mode, so that's new. or well, new to me, because this has probably all been in the game for the last couple of years, to the fact where they made like a second Kerbal Space Program, which I actually tried out before the upgrade that they literally put out, I think like 2 weeks ago, where they added career mode. So like I was literally doing sandbox in Kerbal Space Program 2 to try it out, even though I have never done career mode in this game, even though it's been out for like years now. I think it came out like in 2015 or something. Alright, the VAB is where the spacecrafts are designed and built before being moved over to the launch pad for flights. Alright, so he wanted us to go here. Very good. What you see in the middle of the screen is the construction area. This is where the parts are placed and your craft is constructed. On the left side of the screen is the parts toolbox. It will show all the parts you have available in each of the different categories. Once there are any parts to pick, that is. If you want your craft to be controllable, you need a command module, and it's best to make it the first part you place. This part will either contain some plucky Kerbal crew or an automated pilot mechanism. Excuse me. As we're just starting, there's only one choice. Go ahead and pick that command module from the Pods tab. Mark 1 Command Pod. Originally built as a placeholder for a demonstration mock-up of a rocket, the Mark 1 Command Pod was heralded as a far safer and more reliable option than its predecessors by rocket scientists throughout the world. It is now commonly seen in actual service. RMB for more info. What's RMB? Oh right, mouse button. This part cannot be placed in storage container, but can be manipulated in EVA construction. Maximum crew to operate 1. Crew must include a pilot. Remote pilot assist available. What is... Holy crap, I don't remember there being so many goddamn numbers and metrics. Maybe I just never paid attention to it. Jesus Christ. Electrical charge monopropellant? Holy crap. Alright. Click up. No. Jesus Christ. Alright. Placed. After at least one part is placed, you can look around with following controls: arrow keys or right mouse drag, move camera up and down, page down. Oh. Zoom the camera. Keypad plus, key plus. Oh, wait a second. Oh. If you'd like your pilot to be able to make more than one flight, he or she will have to return safely to the ground or water on Kerbal. Parachutes are a simple way to make sure that happens. They can be found on the utility tab. Change tabs by clicking the icons on the left part of the list window. Yep, I see that. When you're choosing parts, you can view the details of the available parts by hovering over them in the toolbox. When the info is visible, most parts can have additional information window which can be opened with a right click. Note that the parachute states the effective diameter in each state, and what is the maximum safe speed for deployment is. Go ahead and select Mark 16 parachute by left clicking on it, then move it to the top of the command pod so that the green sphere is at the bottom of the parachute, lines up with the green sphere at the top of the pod. Okay. This cargo part can be placed inside inventories, dry mass, packed volume, semi-deployment effective diameter 0.8 meters, fully deployable effective diameter 20.7 meters, maxed safe deploy speed at home 264 meters per second, full deployment altitude 1000 meters, semi-deployment minimal pressure 0.04 atmosphere? The Mark 16 parachute might be considered by some of the might seem by some to little more than a random stitching together of surplus parts it is in fact made from, but the fact remains that the Mark 16 has been widely accepted as a general better alternative to being in freefall. Fair. So, just snap onto place. Okay, what a confusing explanation for that. Some parts, like our parachutes here, have configuration options. To see these, we need to right click on the parachute we just attached to the pod. Do that now and you will see the available parameters. Oh, you... What the shite? Minimum pressure? How does it determine pressure? On the parachute, you will see that we can adjust our altitude and atmospheric pressure to open. That setting can be useful on distant worlds. For now, let's check the opening height on the parachute is at least 1,000 meters. Because safety in the Kerbal is the Kerbal way. For the minimum pressure slider, move it a bit to the right to 0.2. This setting prevents the chute from activating until the atmospheric pressure is above the configured value. On Kerbal, 0.2 is about 9 kilometers in altitude, so even if you stage early and arm the parachute, it will wait until then to activate. You can hide these options by right-clicking on... Okay. Huh. Interesting. So wait, hold on. This setting prevents the chute from activating until after the atmospheric pressure is above the configured value. On Kerbal, 0.2 is about 9 kilometers in altitude. So even if you stage early and arm the parachute, it will wait until then to activate. Okay, I think that makes sense. So usually when I do different like rockets and stuff and like decouplers in sandbox mode, I remember just hitting spacebar and everything instantly activating. So this will wait until I'm at a certain pressure to activate the parachutes, I think, is what it's telling me. Next up, we're going to need something to make us go. Click on the Engines tab on the left to show the available engines and solid rocket motors. Grab one and connect it to the bottom of the pod. You may also need to zoom or move the camera to be able to do so. BACC Thumper Solid Fuel Booster. Max thrust 215 knots. 300 knots for max thrust. Vacuum? Filled with new, even more volatile fuel, the BACC offers semi-reliable performance at a good price. Oh, there's cost. I didn't even notice that till now. $1,907 is what our rocket costs right now. Oops, I forgot. You're just starting out. You're not a famous rocket scientist, and to make that craft survivable as it stands now, you'll have to do better than that. You'd have to be better at rocket science than me. Impossible. The problem with that craft is that this solid rocket is too powerful for the payload. A single small pod and a chute. It will either burn up on ascent from going too fast, or it'll burn from coming back down. Even if you survive that, the craft's mass will cause you to fall too fast for the parachute to operate properly, and you'd hit the surface before it could stop you. Okay, promise to teach you how to change that to make it work in a later tutorial, but for now let's continue. Well, at least this way I get to tell you about removing parts. Pick up the BACC Thumper and either crop it back over to the parts toolbox or press delete. Fuck that part, get out of here. Instead, let's add the solid motor that's a better match for this ship of that size. At the start of your career, you will have what I consider rubbish parts. Literally, the motor here looks like and may very well be a converted trash can. That said, it does have enough oomph to get this little craft moving skyward, and quickly. As you progress, you will be able to unlock more engines and other parts. For now, though, let's pick up the RT5 Flea and connect it to the bottom of the pod. RT5 Flea Solid Fuel Booster, maxed thrust ASL 162 knots, and the mass is 1.5 tons, and I think the other one was like 7 tons almost. Right, while considered by some to be a little more than a trash bin, follow Bloom, the RT5 can be seen in use at many space programs, perhaps possibly because it is the only option for many space programs, but nevertheless this small booster provides a nice kick to lift its small payloads to considerable heights. Use with caution though, once lit, solid fuel motors cannot be put out until the fuel runs out. Good to know. And it only costs $200. Thrust limiter? You can send it out without any fuel. That's kind of funny. Okay. Nice one. You've built the simplest survivable craft possible. We could launch this right now, but it might be safer to explain other thing first. In the bottom right, you will see the staging stack. It's the box with the number 0 and icons for the parachute and the engine in it. This track shows us which parts will be activated as we stage our rockets. Let me get this out of the way. I see it. Okay. What this shows is that when we activate the next stage, both the engines and the parachute will be triggered, which it could be considered funny to open the chute and fire the motor at the same time. It's not going to give you much of a flight. To fix this, we need to separate our engines and chutes into 2 stages. If you mouse over the 0 stage, you will see a little plus and minus appear on the left of the box. Click the plus button to add a new stage. If you add too many, click the minus button on the extra ones to remove them. Make sure you have precisely 2 stages. Yep. So, okay, I remember a bunch of hijinks happening where a bunch of parachutes and a bunch of rockets would basically, well, the rockets would basically flail around while the parachutes just held us at a certain altitude while I was in sand mode a couple years ago. The funny hijinks and so forth. It's gonna be fun to experiment with stuff once I actually get a career started here. Excellent. It's important to note that the stages activate from the highest number and then count down. So for our first stage, it will be 1, the engine, and our second one will be 0, the chute. Now drag the engine icon from 0 down to 1 to give our pilot some comfort. I like how they denote the speed, the meters per second that stage is going to do for us. That's kind of neat. That's it. We now have a safe, well, relatively safe craft that's ready to go. Let's make sure that if we need this design again, we don't have to build it all from scratch. At the top of the screen, you will see the name for our craft. Untitled Spacecraft doesn't seem so majestic. Why don't you change it to be something more your style, and you can add the description if you'd like to. When you use load screens later, these names and descriptions will help you grab the right vessel. When you're happy with the name, click on Save. Okay. Flea V1. Scrub tutorial thing. Save. Excellent work. Feel free to play around with the parts and techniques I've shown you, and when you're ready to continue, press the red button in the upper right to exit. Back at the training menu, try the flight basics tutorial on how to fly this little craft, and then the intermediate construction tutorial can help you learn more about the editor. Cool. I said I was gonna do up to go for orbit. Alright, it feels like it's been forever. Okay. Welcome to the Kerbal Space Center launch facility. I'm Gene Kerman, and I will teach you the basics of piloting the spacecraft. I trust you've already checked the basic construction tutorial. If not, I recommend you doing so before going through this one. Today we will do a run through of all the important controls for your spacecraft. Our little hopper from your basic construction lesson with Werner may not have all of them, but we'll do a full run through once and see how it flies. Okay? Flying a spacecraft is all about being in control of generally, well, very chaotic situations. As a pilot, your main flight control will help you affect the pitch, yaw, and roll of the ship. Let's look at those first. All of the other controls will be locked until they're needed or this tutorial is closed. Okay, so pitch, yaw, and roll are 3 directions you will rotate your craft. To help you visualize, we've taken the holiday snap of the hopper below. What the fuck is yaw? Okay, so pitch is literally tilting your rocket. Roll is rolling it left or right. What the fuck is yaw? What? What's yaw? That visual doesn't make sense to me. Oh wait, is pitch tilting it back or forward and then yaw tilting it left or right? Because that's kind of stupid. I would consider all of the tilting pitch, but whatever. You control your ship's rotation using these controls. Up and down. Pitch up, pitch down. That makes sense if I'm facing it from the front. Like this. A and D, left and right. Yaw. Roll, Q and E. By controlling pitch, yaw, and roll together, you can keep the ship in a controlled flight. Try it now and notice the indicators on the lower left side move as you control input. Throttle plus pitch, yaw, and roll are the basic controls you'll need to master for a successful crash-free flight. We'll skip over the throttle control for now as this vessel has no need for it. Don't worry, I'll explain it another time when it's of use. Remember that all of these controls have a limited amount of effectiveness, so bigger, heavier ships will probably respond much more sluggishly to the controls than the little small one. It's also good to keep in mind that the stages are separate from the ship. It will also become lighter, and this will usually mean easier to control. Now let's look at the rest of the flight controls. In flight, all planning you put into the staging sequence of your ship comes into play. From the launch to the final deployment of the descent parachutes, you can control the activation of several of the ship's parts by activating stages. Space to launch and activate the next stage. Notice the stage indicator in the lower left corner. Oh, it's on the left? Okay, that switched. It shows the current stage active. Since we haven't launched yet, it is showing the first stage is active. I have your staging controls locked for now, so the stage indicator is glowing purple. Okay. One more thing on staging. If the staging setup is causing you strife or you change your mind about something, you can edit the stage sequence on the fly. Pun intended. No need to go back to the assembly facility. Yep. An important part of flying is knowing how your ship is oriented and where it is going. That's why a good pilot is always aware of the ship's altitude when it is where it is pointing and its velocity vector where it is going. There aren't always the same direction, and as your skills improve, you should pick up on these. The big round instrument on the lower center of the screen is called a nav ball. This device sums up most of the critical information needed for proper, death-free flight. Here you can see the ship's nose in direction to the horizon. Is that this orange thing? When you're not pointing straight up, it's easily visible as the line between the blue sky and the brown ground. What the fuck? As well as its heading compass, bearing, and speed. I need a visual of that. You also get several icons that indicate the things like your current velocity vector, but we'll have to look at those later. In the top center part of the screen, you'll have your altimeter, vertical speed indicator, and atmosphere gauges. Yep. The altimeter will show the distance to the planet's surface at sea level. This means the actual surface may be much closer, so watch out for the ground when landing. Your vertical speed indicator shows how quickly your altitude is changing when launching. It's considered the best to keep this gauge pointing up. What gauge? This thing? Your vertical speed indicator. I don't understand. The atmosphere gauge indicates how deep the ship is in the planet's atmosphere. It helps you know if the ship is high enough for orbiting without the loss of speed to air resistance, or judge how effective wings and control surfaces will be. Okay. One last thing, before we give this rocket the green light, in the staging stack you will see an indicator for your parachute. This indicator shows when the chute will be activated by staging. You already know that, but the background will also change color to indicate where it is safe to stage the parachute. And the foreground, the parachute bit of icon itself, will change color depending on the parachute's state. Note, however, that by default, parachutes will not deploy when unsafe, even if you stage them. The left 3 shows safety, safe, risky, and unsafe. To deploy, the chute is unstaged white in the left 3. The right 3 shows the state after staging. Deployed, Or staging armed, deployed, and cut shredded. Okay. When you're familiar with the shoe icon colors, we can move on. Okay. Seems fairly simple. Okay, enough talk. I'll unlock the flight controls and you'll be clear for lunch. At any time, you may press escape and pause the game. In the pause menu, you can restart the flight or end this tutorial. Choose end scenario and return to the main menu. Revert flight, revert to launch, cancel. Okay. Jesus Christ, 32 minutes? What the fuck? It's been a long time. Okay. For now, get yourself prepared and hit space when ready to launch. Don't forget our hopper has only a solid fuel motor, so there is no throttle control. That's why we didn't review the throttle here. Make sure to fly a nice and high arc. Enjoy the flight. Okay, so roll Q and E, that makes sense. Pitch, up, down, up, down. Okay, that makes sense. Left and right. Yaw. Okay. Okay. Kinda seems like muscle memory. I remember launching a bunch of shit and just having it crash in sandbox mode. So. Oh, I can roll now. Yay! Whee! Alright. Your solid motor has burned out and you're passing the apoapsis, the highest point of your flight, and your speed is low enough that it's safe to stage again to deploy the parachute. Okay, now we sit back and enjoy the descent. Alright, can you stop us? Oh no, stop spinning. Alright, there you go. Oh boy. Oh, that's what he meant by nose pointing the ground. This yellow section represents the ground. Okay, that makes more sense. How the explanation was before. And the blue is the sky. Okay. Bit of confusion on that. This thing I didn't use for shit. In sandbox mode, I just pressed space and watched the rockets go. Because that was fun. Oh my god, this thing is so slow. Okay, well done, you've survived the first quick flight. When you're landed or splashed on Kerbal and not in training, you can point the mouse just above the altimeter and click the recover button on the panel that slides down to ask to be picked up. Yep. I've also unlocked the crew hatch, so if you feel like going out for a walk or swim, you can click EVA, Extravehicular Activity, button that will pop up when you mouse over the portion of the Kerbal you want to take for a walk. You can do it just for fun or to collect a surface sample. This concludes today's lesson. To exit training, blah blah blah. I hope to see you again. Hey! Whee! Heck yeah! I've conquered this planet. Okay. Exit scenario. On to the next one. Intermediate construction. Hello again, glad you could come back. To get started, go ahead and enter the VAB and I'll give you an overview of what we're doing. Here we are again, out to business. If you remember, in our last construction tutorial we covered how to build a simple hopper and some of the basics of the construction area. This tutorial will expand your knowledge of some of the more useful features in the VAB, and we'll build a more complex craft that will get us outside of the atmosphere. To build our new design, let's start with the craft we built in basic construction tutorial. through this one, or though this one is just called Hopper, this will save us a little bit of time, and the accounting department is always happy when we save on time. Click on the open button in the top right corner to load the hopper, then remove its RT5 flea motor. If you mess up, you can recreate the craft from the parts list by placing the pod first and then a parachute on top of it. Note that throughout this tutorial I will leave all the parts you need available to be placed. If you delete the craft file somehow, close the load dialog and open it again and the craft will be back. Okay. Remove the flea. Unlike last time, we won't be bringing that old vessel back, so we can just change our parachute stats from what we used before. Right-click on the parachute and verify that its deployment altitude is set to 1,000 meters as last time, but also set the minimum of the pressure slider all the way to the right, 0.75 atmospheres. That corresponds to an altitude on Kerbal about 2 kilometers and means that much of a shorter time hanging around during descent. That corresponds to an altitude on Kerbal of about 2 kilometers and means a much shorter time hanging around during descent. So faster descent time? Or it'll open more last second? Because that could be a double-edged sword, kind of. First off, let's change the name of our aircraft and the description if you want, so that we'll be able to have our trash can special for later on. Is this gonna have actual engines? Let's do... Basic bitch version 1. Scrub... Oh god, wait, what? That works. Save button's not available. Great. For this craft, we are going to give this ship some additional purpose by attaching a science experiment. We can run these experiments during our travels and get valuable science data for Kerbal kind. There are a number of science experiments to be performed, but at the moment we only have a mystery goo containment unit available. Switch to Science tab to look at it. This is one of the most basic scientific experiments Kerbal scientists have devised, and one of the few things they want to try to understand better. I mean, they don't even know what the color of the goo is. Science. Mystery goo containment unit. This unit was something one of our engineers came up with upon dumpster diving, while researching alternative applications for existing technologies. It's a sealed container which appears to be filled with a strange-looking substance. We couldn't reach in or break the canister open, but watching how the goo behaves when subjected to different situations could be very educational. What? Okay. Using symmetry. When you pick parts, or when you pick up the parts, you see that it's designed to attach to the sides of other parts, i.e. radially. If we attach one of these, then during the flight our craft will be unbalanced. One way to solve this is to add an extra goo container on the opposite side of the rocket so they are balanced. Luckily, we have a symmetry tool to help there. These buttons control symmetry, highlighted, and angle snap, and can be found in the lower left of the screen. Press the symmetry button or press X key to cycle through the available symmetry models. Just toggle? Set this to ×2 and then pick up and place the goo containment unit on the side of the pod near the top. You will notice that the second one has been placed opposite the first by the symmetry tool. If you had already placed the lone canister, pick it up and make sure the symmetry is set correctly. Place it again so that it has duplicate on the other side, near the nose of the pod. Okay, 2 times. This means 2, right? Okay, opposite? So... that makes sense. If we add too many more parts here, the craft we are making will be too heavy to survive the re-entry safely and too heavy to be slowed by our parachute, leading to a sudden impact syndrome. So we'll need to add a decoupler below the pod. Decouplers can be found in the coupling tab and will let us split the crafts when we are no longer able to, or when we no longer need the lower parts. We won't be able to recover the discarded parts, but at least our craft and our Kerbal will survive the re-entry and landing. Decouplers can be used in many ways, but for now, let's add one of these to the bottom of the pod. Go to Coupling tab, grab a TD12 and place it. Note, the stack couplers have arrows. The arrows show which side is the side that decouples. Make sure that the decoupler arrows are pointing up, towards the pod. It will be by default. Coupling. TD12 decoupler. Ejection force 100, variants available 2. This is a cargo part that can be placed inside inventories. The TD12 decoupler is equipped with a hopefully small explosive charge that will sever the structural linkage between itself and whatever it's connected to. Painted on its sides are handy arrows indicating which side will detach. What is this? Yellow and white? Oh. Oh, that's kind of neat. Okay. Revisiting the staging stack. Well done. You'll recall, I hope, that this previous tutorial we had to adjust the staging stack when we added the engines to our earlier projects. When you add a decoupler, the extra stage is automatically added to the stack so that any new parts below the decoupler won't be staged at the same time as those above it. You can, of course, still move all these around, but hopefully this will save you time as you go. If you ever want to return to this default staging setup, click the reset button at the bottom of the staging stack. Okay. This time we are going to use liquid propellant rocket engine. Unlike solid rocket motors, these engines don't carry their own propellants with them, so we need to add some fuel tanks. Go to the fuel tanks tab. We are still using these early parts, so there are only FLT 100s available. This is another area like engines where advancement brings bigger and better parts. We're going to need 5 of these tanks to get us to space. Before you grab 5 tanks from the part toolbox though, let me give you another tip. Because efficiency is my middle name, it goes right after Vaughn. Once you place the first tank on the rocket, you can duplicate that by holding left Alt key and click on the tank. You can also do this on the bottom tank a few times and quickly get 5 of these attached without having to go back to the toolbox. Oh, holy shit. Hold on, so... Bro. Thank you. Okay. So fuel tanks. FLT 100. 45 liquid fuel. Oxidizer 55. The T100 is a miniature fuel tank made to be even more adorable than the bigger brother. The T200 handles so stoically and with care. What? Okay, so left Alt. Oh. Okay, that's neat. Ooh. Hold on. Make my ship look nice. Good, switch over to the engines tab now. The swivel engine you see here is obviously different from the flea we used before. This is a liquid engine and it needs and burns both liquid fuel and an oxidizer. Funnily enough, that's what we just added to the rocket. Attach the LV-T45 swivel to the bottom of the rocket stack now and keep an eye on the staging stack to see how it changes. LV-T45 swivel liquid fuel engine, thrust 167 knots, vacuum thrust 215. The LVT-45 engine was considered a breakthrough in the LVT series due to its thrust vectoring feature. The LVT-45 can deflect its thrust to aid in craft control. All these added mechanics, however, make for a slightly smaller and heavier engine in comparison with the other LVT models. Yeah, whatever, as long as it gets me into the sky. Does this have a... Ooh. Ew. No. Give me back the shroud, jeez. Alright, we're almost there, and you're doing fine. Maybe not as speedily as someone of my caliber, though. The last thing we're going to need to do is to give this rocket a little better stability, so it keeps going the way we want it to go. We will achieve this by adding some fins near the bottom of the rocket. Fins can be found in the Aerodynamics tab. Set the symmetry module to 4 times, so we will place them on both axes. Also, turn on angle snap. You can turn on angle snap by clicking the button next to the symmetry icon. This will help you align the fins nearby. Okay, drop a basic fin on the last rocket tank. You'll need the other 3 symmetry counterparts placed as well. What the hell? I can't. What is... Huh? Wait. Basic fin. This simple bolt-on aluminum fin may not be cutting edge or of aerospace engineering, but it's dirt cheap and will make your rocket slightly less unstable. So, what the shit? Bro, I can't... It's not working. So it's not giving me that option. I don't know why. Unless I'm doing something wrong. Excellent. We've now got a rocket that will let us reach for the stars. Admittedly, I did say reach for the stars, or reach for as this basic rocket which can't achieve orbit, but on the bright side, that means re-entry will also be basic. You've done a great job in building a basic hopper and sub-orbit capable rocket. Hopefully you've learned a few things about how to build a craft and how to use some of these shortcuts that are there. Feel free to hang around a bit and try your hand at other things too. Or perhaps you could look at the next lesson on suborbital flight, where we will see just how well this rocket performs, or head over to the science tutorial to learn how to advance your career and unlock more parts. If you show yourself out... Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Cancel. Save that rocket. Okay. Training. Suborbital flight. Ouch. Hello again, glad you can make it back. Today we will take an exciting step, getting our first Kerbal into space. Yep, with a capital S. Hopefully you remember the controls we discussed in basic flight tutorial, but don't forget that you can always press escape and click the view key binding button for a reminder. Okay. Your mission today is to make a short suborbital less than orbital flight out near to the water to the east. It's a nice arcing path that ensures a gentle survivable re-entry. Straight up then straight down is not so good for survival. I've set up the pink target indicator on the nav ball, this thing, as aim point, but do note that this is not the case for normal missions. The target marker is usually or normally used for other things and does not help with ascents. Starting with the noise pointing straight up on the launch pad or 90 degrees elevation from the eastern horizon. Tilt east 80 degrees elevation on the nav ball by 150 meters per second. Start at 50 meters per second. Tilt east to 70 degrees on the nav ball by 400. Okay, so start tilting 80 degrees by 50 until 150. Or no, you have to start here and be at 80 by 150. And then you have to tilt 70 degrees at 250 and be fully 70 degrees by 400 meters per second. After burnout, coast up into space and we have a look around. Prepare for re-entry. Lastly, re-enter and land safely. Once we reach burnout, i.e. run out of propellant, we'll have a bit more time to discuss other things. Interesting. Okay. Unlike the Hopper in our first lesson, this new craft has liquid fuel engines. This means we can use the throttle to set our output power of the ship's engines. Throttle is controlled by the following keys: left shift throttle up, left control throttle down. I think I somewhat remember that. Z throttle max, X throttle cutoff. Try these out now. You'll see the indicator meter slide up and down along with the graph on the left side of the nav ball. Yep, I see it. Down. Z is max, X is down. SAS stands for Stability Augmentation System, although Kerbal astronauts usually refer to it as a Sickness Avoidance Scheme. Whatever it stands for, what it does is try to stop the ship from spinning around using the computer-controlled auto-torque drive compensator technology to counteract the rotation of the ship. In its simplest mode, it will keep the ship aligned with the orientation it was when you turn SAS on, or if you pitch yaw or roll while SAS is on, the orientation when you release the controls. SAS can be activated or deactivated momentarily by holding down the F key, and it can be toggled by pressing the T key. Okay. If you have problems following the maneuvers once you enable SAS and lift off, you can click the small red button to the left of the nav ball. That has a miniature target indicator. If you have problems following the maneuvers once enabled SAS and liftoff, you can click the small red button to the left of the nav ball that has the miniature target indicator. It's the lower left of all buttons. That will cause the SAS to follow the target indicator and fly for you. Note, this autopiloting function will not be available until you are flying. Okay. This craft has a bit too much engine, so we're going to put the throttle for launch. Set your throttle to 2/3, the upper of the 2/3 notches on the slider. Also turn on SAS to help control things. It will keep you pointed where you want to be pointed. During this lesson, some information is quite detailed and could take you a while to read. As this your suborbital hop, and I don't want you to miss anything important, I will place a warning at the top of the page where you might want to pause the game to read. The warning will look like this: escape if necessary. Okay, enough top. I'll unlock the rest of the flight controls. At any time you may press escape to pause the game. The pause menu, you can restart the flight. I've enabled the target marker on the nav ball. Give it a look, blah blah blah. Double check your throttle is set to 2/3. The SAS is enabled, then hit space when you're ready. Remember to start turning at 50 meters per second. $80 degrees. $70 degrees. I think I'm right on it already. I think I turned too much. You should be able to let the SAS... Now, go ahead and throttle up to full power. We're really cooking along now. As we get up there to higher speeds, you might want to start to see heat effects. Hold the course and reach stage burnout safety. Jesus Christ. Alright, hold on. Detailed info. Press escape to pause if necessary. Great work. You've succeeded in getting your ship on a trajectory bound for space. I've now set your target indicator to align with your velocity vector. That will minimize drag by turning the smallest side of the vehicle into the airflow. Somewhere around here, you will see the navball speed indicator auto-switch from surface to orbit, accompanied by the speed number jumping. Go ahead and switch back to the surface mode by clicking on it until it says surface again. You might have noticed some flickering flames near the end of our burnout here, which is due to the speeds of your aircraft in the atmosphere. Normally your ascent would be a little slower, but I'm sure my friend Werner has helped you build a ship that can withstand this heat, and besides this high and this slow, you'll be fine. If you want to have a look at your trajectory, you can switch to the map, M key, to have a look at your projected path. Just remember to come back to the flight mode again. Now that we're coasting on the way to the apoapsis, that's the highest point of our current projected path, we've got a little time to chat. Once you clear the atmosphere, we'll go over what you need to do in space. Okay, so resume flight. He says it will switch. Right? What is that? Huh. M. Okay. Apoapsis 83,000 meters in T-minus 1 minute and 22 seconds. Alright, Gene Kerman, you gonna tell me what to do? Are we just gonna stand here not doing... Okay, there you go. When we float up here, beyond the atmosphere, I'll quickly tell you about a couple of things you can do. With an advanced enough astro complex in the Kerbal Space Center, we can train our Kerbals to be able to spacewalk for EVA, although we won't be doing that on this flight. Also, when we are carrying science devices like our goo containers, we can perform experiments. Feel free to play with the goo canisters now by right-clicking on them. I'll let you know when it's time for the next phase of this suborbital flight. Observe mystery goo. Mystery goo observation while near space and Kerbin. The goo seems to have clumped into a spear. It also seems to have become very brittle. Reset experiment to keep experiment. Transmit data 0% science value. That's the only thing it could do. What is this? I don't know what this does. Reaction wheels. Oh boy. Normal. Okay. As we near the edge of the atmosphere again, it's time to reorient the pod to get ready for re-entry. We're only going to re-enter with the pod and chute and goo canisters, but we're not going to decouple yet. In real missions, it's best to keep your upper stage around until the last moment. You'll never know when you might need it. Anyway, it's best to re-enter at bottom first, since we have ascended to about 70 degrees pitch. We'll naturally re-enter at about negative 70 degrees pitch. That means that you want to aim the top capsule at the negative 70 degrees pitch line, but the opposite heading. This is at the heading of 270 on the nav ball and 70 degrees pitch, and I've placed the target near there to help you see where that lies. Turn the SAS off and change your altitude, and then turn it back on again. Nice. Now hold steady on your new altitude. Let SAS do its job and get ready to couple the stage at the start of re-entry. Okay. Okay, this is a lot of shit I did not know. This is probably why I was crushing and crashing and doing a bunch of nonsensical shit with the rockets in sandbox mode when I was playing this game before. Because I was trying to enter or exit the atmosphere in the wrong way. I was literally like going up like fucking 20,000 meters into the air before starting to tilt. I was trying to like go up straight and then back down straight and hoping to survive. Shit like that. And I didn't even know this SAS thing was a thing. Cause like I just like tilted my rockets and shit. But this is neat to learn. Good thing I'm doing the tutorials. It would have like, probably taken me like 20 times longer to figure all this shit out on my own. Oh boy, we're speeding up. Stage to discard the unneeded mass and parts. It's time to get rid of the booster. Okay. You are now re-entering Kerbal's atmosphere. Make sure to keep all hands and feet inside the pods at all times. We don't want you getting burnt or anything. Don't mind the flames. Werner is a world-famous rocket scientist, after all, and he's built this ship to withstand them. Last time we watched the parachute icon wait for the right time to open the chute. This time we are going to do something a little different. Remember in the construction tutorial when you designed this vessel, you set the chute to not semi-deploy until 0.75 atmospheres of pressure? That means the chute won't perform the first of its 2 deployment steps until then. Even if you activate by staging now on Kerbal, 0.75 atmosphere means about 2,000 meters altitude above sea level, and the craft should be traveling slowly enough by then the chute will survive deployment. So let's take a bold step of arming the chute now and let the smarts in there pop it right at the right altitude. Okay. Awesome. So while we set your chute to not actually semi-deploy around 2 kilometers, we do look out for you at Mission Control. We do need to ensure that that the opening height, its second full deployment step, is correct. You can even adjust the parameters during flight, so right-click on the chute and now check the sliders. Don't touch the pressure slider or bad things will happen, and make sure the full deploy altitude is no less than 1,000. You will not have enough time to slow down otherwise. Once you're satisfied, just hang on until about 2 kilometers and watch the parachute trigger itself according to the settings you've chosen. While we're waiting, I want you to look at the bottom of the capsule. Notice that you do not have a heat shield. You don't need one because this is such a gentle fight. Actually, a heat shield would make things more dangerous on this craft because of the additional mass would be pushing the limits of the model of the parachute. Gotcha. Okay. Meeting air resistance. Falling slow and slower. Man, he wasn't kidding when he said this was a gentle flight. Yes, the chute is away. Now enjoy the leisurely float down to the surface. Nice. damn. Based on how long this is taking, like 4 tutorial sections have taken me like 1 hour and 7 minutes to complete. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to like set my first orbit for my career mode in Kerbal Space Program. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that at the end of this stream, because I need to be out of here by like 5:30. Literally have like 30 minutes left. 35, 40 minutes if I'm being generous. Alright, welcome back and congratulations. You've managed to launch and control your vessel into space. If you want to practice again, blah, 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 blah. The usual. End scenario. Advanced construction. For this tutorial, presented by a famous rocket scientist, design a craft that can orbit Kerbal and return to safety. Welcome to the third and final tutorial about construction, the advanced construction tutorial. I've had to delay some important work today to fit this in, so pay close attention. Inside the VAB. In our last tutorial, we built a vessel that could escape the atmosphere, but didn't have enough oomph to escape for long. This time around, we'll cover more advanced rocket designs like multi-stages and boosters, as we'll need extra parts like RCS and solar panels. You want these if you want to spend more than a few minutes in orbit. Sorry, I had to drink some water. When we're done, you'll have a craft capable of ascent to orbit operations, and a safe return to Kerbal, and you can test it out in the Go for Orbit tutorial, which will teach you how to make use of it all. You notice that there's a lot of parts available this time. That's because the orbit-capable aircraft is much more complex than the little puddle jumper I showed you how to make the last time. However, the main principles are the same, so I hope you'll remember what I taught you. If you mess this up and somehow manage to delete your whole craft, blah 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 blah, and do your last change. Again, you have one pod capable, so go ahead and select it. If you select the wrong parts, click on it and view, pick up, drop it back to the toolbox, and delete again. Just like last time, select the parachute and place it. Easy enough. And again, like last time, adjust the parachute parameters by right-clicking when the parachute 0.75. So are we going with 0.75 for all of the minimum pressures? I guess, just because that's a comfort number. We're now going to construct an upper stage. This upper stage will finish placing the pod in orbit, and once there, provide RCS steering thrusters and electricity for the pod. It will also provide all maneuvering capabilities in orbit, including the re-entry burn. It's going to consist of a decoupler, which we don't want to carry home, an RCS fuel tank, a liquid fuel tank, 4 RCS thrusters, 4 solar panels, 4 batteries, and an efficient upper stage engine. Now that's quite a shopping list, isn't it? So let me know when you're ready to proceed. Firstly, we'll add the stacked decoupler below the pod and let us discard the parts we don't want to bring back with us. Grab the decoupler from the toolbox and attach it to the bottom of the pod. Paying close attention, blah blah blah. If the arrows are pointing down, that's not good. Detach it from the pod, then use WASD to rotate it to be the right way, then reattach it. Vertical decoupler? Damn. Hold on. Facing up, right? Next, we'll add an RCS tank. RCS stands for Reaction Control System, and this fuel will help us with fine maneuvers. Go to the tanks category and add an FLR 120 RCS fuel tank under the decoupler. That's a bigger fuel tank. Okay. FR or FLR 120 RCS fuel tank, mass 0.5 tons. These fuel tanks store monopropellant for RCS thrusters. New advances in plumbing technology have made it possible to route RCS lines to any point in the ship, so unlike liquid fuel tanks, RCS fuel tanks can be placed anywhere. Interesting. Next. Your craft is going to need all of the monopropellant in the tank, so to save some weight, right-click it to get into the parts options and move the slider down to 96 units? Your craft is not going to need all the monopropellant. Okay. Monopropellant is called that because while large rocket engines use two propellants, the fuel and the oxidizer, RCS uses a single propellant. RCS is generally less efficient, but is good for small velocity changes in any direction. Rather than forward like the main engines do, they can be used to rotate the aircraft as well as move it. We'll be adding multiple liquid fuel tanks in this stage to get the right amount for the upper stage engine, and we need an extra tank to offset the weight of the RCS. So add a tiny rocket propellant tank, it's the one named FLT 100, and then add a medium FLT 400 below it. FLT 400 fuel tank, mass almost 2.5 tons. The FLT series was received as a substantial upgrade over the previous fuel containers used in space program, generally due to its ability to keep fuel unexploded more often than not. Fuel tanks are useless if there isn't fuel engine attached under it. They can also be stacked with other fuel tanks to increase the amount of fuel for the engine below. Make it cool. Alright, lastly, for the main parts of this engine upper stage, we'll add an engine. The Terrier engine produces almost no thrust at sea level air pressure, but is highly efficient in space, and above 20 kilometers, where the atmosphere is thin enough not to interfere with the exhaust. This makes it a good choice for an upper stage, since the engines will not be activated until rockets has reached conditions with this kind of engine works well. If you select the wrong engine, you can always throw it away and try again. Add a level 909 Terrier to the bottom of the tank. The 909 model was initially received with some skepticism by the spacecraft engineers, as it defied the long-standing convention of the more power is always better. Despite this, the 909 Terrier found its place in the spacecraft construction world, being a particularly useful final stage and landing engine. 14 knots? Jesus Christ, less than 25% of the other ones. Damn, this better give me some thrust. Jesus Christ, I'm trusting you, Kerbin. Or Kerman. Werner von Kerman. Nicely done. That's a pretty well assembled upper stage, if I do say so myself. It'll get you to orbit if you put enough rocket under it. While we have this reasonably simple vessel here, let's explore one other useful tool we have available. To make sure that your ship flies controllably, some parts need to be replaced or placed carefully around the point inside the ship called the center of mass. This center of mass is a spot where the mass on one side is balanced by the mass on the other side. Thrust applied through the will cause the ship to move without unwanted rotation, while thrust properly applied around the will cause the ship to rotate without moving. Wait. Thrust applied through the will cause the ship to move without unwanted rotation, while thrust properly applied around the will cause the ship to rotate without moving. This makes such a useful and important thing that we added a tool so the assembly building can show it to you with a marker. Let's have a look at the indicator and how it works here. Click on the indicator toggle and we'll have to play. There. Okay. let's adjust the fuel levels in some of the tanks and see how that affects the center of mass. Right click on each of the fuel tanks and drag the fuel and oxidizer propellant levels down to 0. Don't touch the monopropellant levels as they won't be burnt by the Terrier engine. As you are doing this, you will see the comm move during the flight vessel's comm. During flight vessels, the comm will move in the same way as it burns its fuel until the tanks are empty. Okay. Right, because the fuels are added weight. Now go ahead and refuel the tanks so we can proceed to add some of the accessories to our upper stage. They'll transform it from a merely something that gets us into orbit to something that helps us once we're there. Now that you know where the center of mass is when a stage is full and when it is empty, you have the information you need to place the RCS thrusters. The RCS thrusters are found in the command and control category. Moving spaceships without rotating it is called translation. This is useful kind of maneuver for several reasons, including docking to another aircraft. In order for translation with RCS to avoid unwanted rotation, you need to balance the thrusters around the center of mass so that the net sum of the forces is balanced right on this natural pivot point. For two equal sets of thrusters, each should be set equidistant from the comm, and for a single set, what we're doing here, it should be right around the comm itself. What makes this complicated is that the center of mass changes during flight. As you just saw, so you need to place the thrusters at a compromise point between the wet center of mass and the dry center of mass. So this is the wet center of mass because of fuel. The dry center of mass was going to be up here. So literally here somewhere? Note that in career mode, RCS thrusters don't become available until fairly late. In the meantime, the reaction wheel is capably built into your command pod will probably be enough for turning in space, though reaction wheels will not allow you to translate. Let's turn on angle sharp to make the aligning thrusters part easier. Do that by clicking on the toggle snap icon on the lower left or pressing C. Ensure we have 4x symmetry turned on and then place a set of oh, there he goes. It wasn't letting me do that in the last tutorial. Place a set of 4 RV-105 RCS thruster blocks on the upper stage. The tiny rocket propellant tank is about the right place to attach these, just in case you need a hint. The recent discovery of a third law of physics made it possible for Stadler Corp's engineering to produce these small monopropellant thrusters to help with the altitude control and linear motion. Even though many Kerbal scientists and physicists dispute the validity of the new law, studies show the thrusters seem to be working as advertised. So, somewhere around here, basically. Or do they want me to put it? If you don't get the placement right, you can also use the offset gizmo to fine-tune their position. Make sure you turn on angle snap or turn angle snap off before using the offset. You want to find fan adjustments. Click the offset module on the upper left, or if you want to, I think we're good. I'll put it a bit lower. Actually, no, there's more weight, so I think that would be right. Because of the thrusters themselves. Lots of things on crafts use electric charge, EC. That's what us cool scientists call rocket electricity. In order to keep your batteries topped off, you will need a way of generating power. Now, some engines generate electricity while they're running, but you don't want to keep your engines running in orbit. Your orbit would get all kinds of messed up and you'll run out of propellant. Our command pod has some batteries built into it, but to be safe, you can add more batteries and you can add solar panels or other electricity generating items. We're gonna do both. Switch to the electrical category now and ensure we have angle snap on and still 4x symmetry mode. We'll use our part rotation skills to adjust the panels before placing them. That's WASD and E key we used earlier. Grab the aux-sat solar panels, hold it over the lower end of the fuel tanks, press A to rotate it 90 degrees, then click space to set them. Now go ahead and place a set of 4 Z100 batteries between the solar panels. Okay, so and they said 90 degrees. So lower end of the fuel tanks. And they said to put the batteries in between them. That works. Looks symmetrical enough. Excellent work. You built a nice starter upper stage, which will do well for some orbital exploration. Now we need to work on getting it up into orbit, and for that we'll build up our lower stage. In the comparison to the upper stage, it's quite simple. It's just a couple of tanks and an engine. That won't be enough alone, however, so we'll need to add some boosters too. Add another TD-12 stacked decoupler on the bottom of the Terrier. We'll need this during ascent to discard the empty parts of the vessels below. Oh, and notice how when you add the decoupler, a fairing is placed around the engine. This will get jettisoned automatically when we stage the decoupler. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Add another blah blah blah. Now we need to add the fuel tanks for our lower stage. Add 2 of the medium rocket propellant tanks, FLT 400 fuel tanks, to the bottom of the stack. And they said for our lower stage, we need an engine that is a sustainer. That's an engine that burns from liftoff until well after the boosters separate. Let's get scientifical for a second. Rocket engine performance is measured by scientific or specific impulse, or ISP. And the ISP of an engine changes as the amount of atmospheric pressure around it changes. Just as the upper stage needed an engine that is good at low air pressures of high altitude, the lower stage will need a booster which are powerful at the higher air pressure of the low altitude of the launch pad. And to help carry out the rocket through the transition from launch to upper stage, it will need a sustainer engine, which usually sits between the boosters and the upper stage engines from a performance perspective, having a wide range in between the two. To add the big engine you see there, the LV-T45 swivel, to the bottom of the tanks as our sustainer. Okay, mass 1.5 tons. Tolerance, max temp. The LV-T45 engine was considered a breakthrough in the LV-T series due to its thrust vectoring feature. This is the one we had before. I don't see any ISP measurements, but that's fine, I suppose, for now. tweak the swivel. As its default thrust level, the swivel is too powerful for the rocket we're creating. And for the ascent profile, we're going to teach you in the Go for Orbit tutorial, so you need to lower its thrust level. Not lever. This isn't as good as a solution as picking smaller, lighter engines with the thrust vector we want, but well, there are so many options that we can do. Right-click the swivel, and lower the thrust limiters to 65. It will then only produce 65% of its full thrust potential, but it'll also run longer because it'll only be burning at 65% as much fuel. Interesting. Nice. You now have the core of your rocket completed, but like I said before, you'll also be adding boosters to help the sustainer engine get the rocket up and running. We'll add 2 boosters symmetrically so that we keep our craft balanced, and to make sure we don't lug the useless dry mass of boosters around after they burn out. We'll attach them using decouplers. This time, however, we'll use the radial decouplers so the boosters can sit beside our lower stage core instead of under it. That way, the sustainer and booster can fire at the same time. Select the TT38 radial decoupler and add 2 of them near the bottom of the lowest tank on the lower stage. This is the front. Two times. Okay. The TT38 radial decoupler, like most other decouplers, is equipped with a hopefully small explosive charge that will sever the structural linkage between itself and whatever it's connected to. 250 ejection force, and I want it like that so that the rockets are side by side. Right? Because if I don't like the awkwardness of having an engine on the front and back. Oh wait, they said near the bottom of the lowest tank. More boosters is something you often hear around Kerbal Space Center, and now it's time to add some more. Add a pair of RT Hammer SRBs to the decoupler so that we have an extra kick earlier on. Hammer Solid Fuel Booster. Packing a powerful punch for its size, the RT-10 is widely used in many programs whenever the need to save cash is greater than the need to help astronauts live. That's a short-ass engine. Guess it works. Unlike LF, liquid fuel engines, when you can adjust the throttle during flight, once you light the SRB, it burns out at a constant thrust till it's out of fuel. We can, however, use the throttle limiter as we did on the swivel to set the constant thrust before rollout to the launch pad. Right-click on one of the SRBs to change its thrust limiters to 50. You know that changing a tweakable value on one part has been placed under symmetry will have the same change applied to its symmetry counterparts. Remember, I said I'd teach you how to make the pod and thumper craft from construction basics survivable? Okay, so 50%. And it's also applied to this one. Yeah. Right now, SRVs have flat pancake tops, which simply is not a good look. Oh, and bad aerodynamically. Let's fix that by adding a pair of nose cones that can be found in the aerodynamic category. Aerodynamic nose cones. And mass 0.03 tons. Aerodynamic, lightweight, and mostly non-explosive. As a reminder to all personnel operating nearby, this part is really sharp and is probably gonna hurt if you fell on it. Ooh. What about orange? While we're on that tab in the toolbox, let's add some fins too. Fins come in various sizes and styles, and we learned that earlier. And they will help stabilize our craft. Since these fins are control surfaces, they also add some extra control authority when in low atmosphere, where the air is thick enough for them to have a helpful effect. Add AV-R8 winglets times 4 symmetry near the bottom of the lowest fuel tank in the lowest stage. Make sure they don't interact with the decouplers and SRBs. If they do overlap those parts, any flight will be interesting, but exceptionally short. The R8 Active Control Winglet series marked the debut of the Curlington model rockets in the spacecraft engineering world. These winglets are equipped with movable pivots which can which can allow them to swivel and act as control surfaces. This feature was considered a huge advancement in control technology, and most agree that it made Curlington staff and R8 fans simply unbearable to be around. And freaking tastic. But they don't want us. Oh, wait. What are you doing? ×4. They don't want it to touch. That's good. This is the front. Excellent. We've now got all the components on our basic orbital rocket, but let's run through a few extra things before we call it a day. Frankly, we should review the staging stack to check the order of actions and the parts displayed there. It's lucky I've highlighted this out for you because the SRBs are set to fire before the sustainer. Oh, I see. And that's just won't do. You won't have enough thrust to get off the pad that way. Move the swivel staging icon down into the same stage as the SRBs. Note that the automatic created staging sequence won't work, or would work if we did not want that long burning sustainer to ignite at the same time as the high thrust boosters, but since we do, we had to adjust it manually. Finally, pick up the pod and rotate it 90 degrees around the vertical apex, Q and E. This will rotate the ship not just in the VAB, but also set its orientation when we go to the launch pad, so that our desired flight heading of east compass 90 will be a matter of steering in the pitch up and down axis instead of the yaw right and left. By default, parts in the VAB are oriented so that they align north. Okay, so we want to align it east, which means we want to do that. And that way we can do W or up to tilt it down so that we can basically steer it that way instead of what we were doing earlier, which was left and down. Or rather right. We always make every effort to ensure our brave crew survive, and hopefully you will take the same stance in your space program. It doesn't always work out that way, of course, but it's the thought that counts. At least those of us not in rockets all the time. With that in mind, let's set up an abort action group for the craft. For use just in case of emergency, know that in career mode you have to upgrade the VAB or SPH in order to access this action group. Click on the turquoise action group button on the left of the toolbar. It's part of the cluster of 3 buttons. Actions. Action groups let you assign the functions of one or more parts to a single specific key. There are some action groups. Landing gear automatically go in the gear group. Brakes on our wheels go in the brake group, and some custom ones activated by the keyboard, not keypad numbers. Because of the order of these keys on the standard boards, and the action groups are numbered 1 through 9 and then 0. To set up action groups, click on the desired action keys from the menu, then click on the parts you want to be activated. The actions already assigned to that group appear in the... What the hell? To add and remove items, you simply click on them and then move them left or right between the columns. To clear all action groups, we're going to set up the abort action group. It's triggered by pressing backspace or clicking the big red abort button in the flight. It slides out from the left of the altitude panel on the bottom or at the top of the screen when you mouse over that area. First, click on the abort button in the action groups column. Great, now click on the decoupler right below the pod. Then click on each liquid fuel engine in turn and assign their shutdown functions to the group. Wait a second. Am I being dumb? Hold on. Okay, never mind. So then click on each liquid fuel and assign their shutdown functions. What shutdown? Oh, the engines. Shutdown. 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 One, two, three. Now when you trigger the abort action in the flight, the engines will shut down, or if they can't shut down and be decoupled, the capsule will separate one from the rest of the ship. It should be safe to land. Remember to deploy the parachute once it's safe, however this may require a staging number before they are blah 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 blah. What the shit? Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me follow this sequence again. Jesus Christ. Okay, click on the decoupler right below the pod. Add its decoupling action. Okay? Decouple. Then click on each liquid engine in turn and assign their shutdown functions to the group. So, this one, shutdown engine. This one, shutdown engine. These two, shutdown engine. Finally, click one of the radial decouplers and decouple. Why the hell is this giving me trouble? I don't understand. I did everything it's asking me to do. Did it not? Hold on. What the fuck does... Okay, fuck you, game. Fuck you. Get me out of here. I'm not wasting my time on that bullshit. I'm not gonna make abort groups. Fuck them Kerbals. I'm gonna crash them into the goddamn fucking surface of the planet. Grown tired of their bullshit tutorial, goddammit. Jesus Christ. Fuck. Okay. Go for Urbit. Today, we will tackle an absolutely essential skill for any space program, getting to orbit. Without this skill, we might as well be teaching you Kerbal Flight Simulator. Good one. I trust you've already checked the other flight tutorials. Okay. Let's do it. As I said before, the plan here is to get our vessel and pilot safely into orbit. As with the suborbital flight we did previously, we will follow the curved path to getting to the point where we can circulate our orbit. Today, it's gravity turn. However, we will be much shallower than the path we followed previously, so that we build speed towards orbit. This is different from how the Kerbal's pilots of old did it. They would head straight up and then hang a right as if the air was soup or something. We'll be turning early and smoothly, but don't turn too far or you might be mistaken for one of those low-flying turkeys. As with the previous flights, I will place a target on the market of the nav ball to show you the optimal velocity vector, but do note that this indicator will not be all around normally and is not usually used the way this tutorial uses it. I'll also display some technical information about the path as you go to help you learn the right way to get there. For now, set your throttle to the max and press Z and prepare to launch. You should now see the marker on the nav ball. Hit space when you're ready to go for the orbit. If you want Valentina, the Kerbal pilot, to fly the curve for you, then you can enable SAS and set the mode to target after liftoff. Don't worry about your throttle. You need to pay attention to the target marker and proper staging. I'll prompt you along the way. Get ready to pitch once you reach 60. Time to start pitching down. We're going little by little, right? Oh shit. Holy shit. We're almost out of fuel, so get ready to eject them by pressing space. Wait, what the fuck did I do wrong? Okay. Give me fucking instructions, bitch. Okay, I'm starting to get pissed off at this game. Okay. So, are we going for the metrics of the last launch? What did they want me to do? That's literally not at all what you guys were telling me to do. What the fuck? It's just... Now we can keep an eye on the trajectory. You can right click on the marker to pin it so that it remains visible when you move your mouse away. You need to keep burning that path until we clear the atmosphere by handing a margin. We'll aim for 80k. Cut the engines and next once the apparatus hit 80. Man, this little rocket is doing a lot of boosting. Jesus Christ. It's fast. Without air resistance, I guess. Cut it off at 80, cut it off at 80. Okay. And that's gonna get us there. I've made sure the engine is shut off now and we'll coast till we clear the altitude of 70k. You may notice your speed dropping a little as we coast. That's nothing to be concerned about. It's just gravity trying to bring us down and the air trying to prevent us from our success. We'll beat it though, you're looking good. Meanwhile, I'll keep the altitude display on so you can track your progress ascending to your apoapsis. Why are we waiting for 70? Is it because there's less air resistance there and it'll just easily get us into orbit or something? Doesn't make much sense to me quite yet. Now that we are clear of the atmosphere, we can warp ahead through time to get to the apoapsis more quickly. Next. Whoa. Orient your vessel. Okay, we're almost there now. All we need to do is accelerate some more so that we fall past Kerbin. That's basically what orbit is, falling and missing. Gravity will be pulling us towards the center of Kerbin, but we'll be traveling so fast that we constantly miss. Rotate your craft to align it with the prograde marker. We'll learn more about that later, or use the SAS maneuver mode. When it's time to throttle up, I'll tell you. What the shit? So this... right? This is the prograde marker. Node. What is this? I've never seen this before. A burn of 115.5 meters per second? Is that what that stands for? Throttle up. I'll cut your engines once you've completed the burn. I've calculated for you. So you... oh, shit. Bro, congratulations, you are officially now in orbit. That is quite the acknowledgement. Hopefully, you can see the difference between the suborbital hop that is reaching orbit ascent, and that's how far we've turned. Okay, so I have to get to my apoapsis that's over 80k and stretched over a wide distance, and when I get there I basically need to accelerate past that falling point so that it extends my orbit higher into space. That's as far as we'll be taking it today. We can catch up again in the Orbit 101 tutorial where I will show you about the orbits and adjusting them. If you want to fly solo for a bit, you can also try bringing Valentina home from this tutorial flight. You'll need to turn around 180 degrees and burn retrograde until your periapsis is less than 20k, at which the height the atmosphere will do the most of braking for you. The stage... away the upper... blah, blah, blah. Nah, bruh. Okay, you know what? Where is... this, right? Okay. Prepare for your death, Valentina Kerman. Cannot warp in this scenario. Is this... why can't I warp? Alright, you know what? You're falling to your death. I'm too impatient. Sorry, Valentina Kerman. I've decided it's not happening. I'm too impatient. Oh boy. The descent starts. You will either like miraculously survive or die tragically in the following seconds, Valentina Kerman. What a brave soul, smiling to her death. Alright, we'll see. Faster and faster. Alright, when I start seeing the flames, I should jettison this whole section, right? I think? That's what they told me the last time. There it is. Oh no. Oh, I'm burning up. Oh no, Valentina Kerman. Oh no, Valentina Kerman, you're gonna die. I'm sorry. It's too late for you. I've doomed you. Oh no. You're gonna... Oh no, Valentina Kerman, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh wait. Okay, that's a bunch of speed lost. You might survive after all. Maybe. Alright, you know what? Fucking lucky. You are fucking lucky. You are decreasing in speed substantially. You're not gonna explode anymore. You got lucky. Now, is the parachute gonna open and slow you down in time, is the question. Looks like it will. I mean... yeah, it's gonna. Opening altitude is 2,000 meters. And we're like under 300 right now. So, Yeah, she's gonna make it. Congratulations, Valentina Kerman. Congratulations, me. Successful orbit and landing about to commence. I'm just gonna wait for that parachute to open and then I'm gonna leave the stream off here. It sucks that I didn't get to start on my career path now. I didn't think the tutorials would take this long, but there's a lot of fascinating junk that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. So I guess I'll take this as a constructive tutorial stream. And then next stream, I'll start my career Kerbal Space Center, and we'll see where we go from there. Now let's hope the parachute opens. There it goes. And open. Okay. You gonna open? What was that? I don't know what that was. It opened. We're at a sustainable speed for landing. So you know what? If anyone's watching, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go do some shit. I need to go do some grocery shopping. I need to do some stuff. So I'm gonna have a long day ahead of me. If anyone's watching, thank you for watching. I'm out. Bye.